Hey y'all, welcome back to the Chalk Sports Podcast. I'm so excited for this episode. We are on to Super Bowl matchup with conference championship play is finished, and we're going to be going over the NFL, the NBA, and some college basketball. Because I think it's important to stay informed. March is coming up soon, in a month, so we need to be prepared for what's coming. Let's get right into it. On the big screen, we have the Magic playing the Heat, a fully healthy Magic team for once, and we're looking all right. All right, let's go first into the games. Let's get right into it. Commanders at Eagles, and what a game in the first half. The first half was all back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth, except for one thing that stayed consistent. Saquon Barkley is the best player currently in the NFL right now. Crazy statement, I know. You could say Mahomes is better, but I don't think Mahomes is the biggest reason they're winning anymore. But I do think Mahomes is a big part. I'm not disrespecting Mahomes. I'm saying currently playing the best is Saquon Barkley. That might be a little bit of recency bias, but in that first half, it was all his. 60-yard run play on the first play of the game. He had a game for himself. He was the reason they won this game. 3 touchdowns, 118 yards on the ground. And it wasn't even like the Commanders were bad this game. They started off the first drive very wonky. It was kind of concerning for the Eagles because they went 18 plays and kicked a field goal. That part never made sense to me. That was a big part of the game that I think I got very confused by. So, first drive of the game, the Commanders have the ball. They go 18 consecutive play, getting 2 fourth downs. And then you kick a field goal on 4th and 3, the second easiest fourth down of this game. And it just didn't make a lot of sense to me. There's no logic behind it. You gotta just go for it again. You were rolling, your momentum was coming off your fourth downs, and then you just gave it all up on the fourth down that actually mattered. You're in field goal range. You could get 7 points on the Eagles. You're underdogs. And they came in. They didn't do it. I'm pretty sure it was booted out the back of the end zone. No, it was a return for 35 yards. So the Eagles have it on the 40. And Saquon just rips one. 60-yarder. First play of the game for the Eagles. And it was just like, boom. Momentum gone for the Commanders. And then you get the ball back, and then you fumble. And now you're down 3-14, and it's just a rolling. And then you start actually getting down the field, and then you kick another field goal. I think there was a Traceway in the middle of that. There was a fourth down conversion for Traceway. Yeah, there was. 4th and 6, they do a fake punt. That was what you wanted from the Commanders. Spicy, interesting plays, but it ended in a field goal again. And you can't beat the Eagles with field goals. They learned that the hard way, though. So you get stopped 6-14, and then the Eagles miss a kick. Who's surprised? It's Jake Elliott. And then the Commanders score. And it's like, oh, hey, they stand a chance. They go for 2, don't get it. The Terry McLaurin pass, by the way, was incredible. It was such a cool play. And then this is all in the first half. So Eagles go down, and I'm pretty sure they score. Yeah, the Eagles go down and score. And then it's like, oh, crap. Like, you were playing good. You were staying competitive. And then all of a sudden, the Eagles are now up 12-20. And you're not getting the ball back until after their second drive. And then they get the ball back and score again. They score after that one. So now it's 12-27 after the half. And I just knew it was over. The minute I saw that, I knew it was over. I was watching that game, and I just, once it got to 12-27, it was basically over. Which sucks for the Commanders, and you're kind of like holding on to hope. You're like, hey, Jane Daniels does some crazy stuff. This might be another one. Nah, you kind of knew it was over, and it showed. They got their butts kicked from that point on, 12-27, and then it ended 22-23, 23-55. Saquon had 3. Hurts had 3. Will Shipley, I think, had 1. It was a very impressive performance from both sides of the ball for the Eagles. Boat raced them. That's what my notes were. They boat raced them, and the Commanders couldn't keep up. I don't think the Commanders were ready for a boat racing. There was a call that was questionable, and the refereeing wasn't the greatest in this game, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't Chiefs level. We'll get to that. But there was one play that confused me, and it was A.J. Brown got his helmet, ripped off Marshawn Lattimore's helmet, and Lattimore got penalized. Obviously, it was both of their fault, but Lattimore was the only one who got penalized, which I don't agree with. It was whatever, didn't really make a huge impact on the game. Another one that was funny was the ref almost awarding the Eagles of points. So if you didn't watch the game, they were on the 1, I think it was 2nd down. And Frankie Louval kept jumping the snap but missed timing. So you just see Frankie Louval try to Troy Polamalu over the line of scrimmage and hitting Hurts 3 times. And the ref were heated, telling them, do it again, and you're getting, then they're awarding the Eagles the points. They're awarding the Eagles the touchdown. And that was not, it was interesting. You haven't seen that rule in forever. You don't see it often, so it was just cool to see. It was all fumbles, man. Commanders just fumbled the ball so many times. They didn't look like they wanted it after it was 12-27. They looked all given up. Daniels looked rough, but do you expect more from him? I mean, they locked down Terry. They're 255 yards. He did not. When he did run, he ran good, but he didn't get to run a lot. 48 yards. He threw a pick. They fumbled a lot. It was a very weird game in general. I think the Eagles were very deserving of this one. I think Zach Ertz deserves a lot of credit, though. 104 yards, 10 receptions. He played out of his mind and was probably one of the better players for the Commanders in this game. But, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about the Commanders. It sucks. I really wanted a Super Bowl that I could enjoy. I'm still going to watch it, obviously. I'm not a chicken. I'm not complaining. Super Bowl is a Super Bowl. But the Commanders were not expected to get this far. I didn't expect them to get even close to this far. Actually, no, I did. I picked them in my bracket to beat I predicted them to beat the Lions in my bracket. We're not going to talk about the other side, but I had them going this far. But no one expected them to even make the playoffs. You take this year and you celebrate. You celebrate. You made it to the conference championship in your first year with Jane Daniels. That is awesome and a really impressive thing to do. Continuing with it, though, Eagles looked amazing. They look like the best team of the 2 left. They look like the Super Bowl. They played out of their minds. That run game was good. That pass game actually looked good for once. A.J. Brown showed up. That defense was on locks. They played better. They played more physical, and they were more deserving to win this game. So I think, yeah. I think it was basically how it should have gone. Eagles were very good this game. There was no beating the Eagles if you're the Commanders. You would have had to have a perfect game from Daniels, no fumbles, and you still might have kind of stood a chance. But I got one more thing, and then we'll wrap it up and move on to the other game. Is Nick Sirianni kind of overhated? So, he's gotten a lot of hate. They always kind of excused him. He was on the hot seat. They considered him like a loser. They were not liking him in Philly. And then all of a sudden, he does another good season. He made another Super Bowl run. 4th playoff team. He's been great with what he has. Obviously, he's got a really good team. Is he overhated, though? Because they considered firing him last year for making the playoffs, and he still got hate during this season. They changed up the offense, obviously, so it was a little bit better. But I don't know. That's just a thought. Think about it. Put a comment on it. We'll see. So let's move on to Bills at Chiefs. And it sucks. It sucks a lot. I said it on Friday. I said Chiefs are probably going to win, but I don't want it to happen. I said the same thing for the Eagles. I was right for both of them, unfortunately. I just wrote it sucks that the bad guys keep winning. The Chiefs keep winning, and now I don't know who to root for. So let's talk about Kincaid because he was getting torn apart. That would have been a tough catch to get. So all that Kincaid should have got that, and getting hate over that is insane to me. You guys, that catch is impossible. I don't know why he's getting all this hate. It was catchable. It would have been a great play. But if he caught that, that would have been some insane acrobatics that we haven't seen from him all season. He hasn't played great this entire year. And on the last play, if you expect him to make a catch like that, then you're out of your mind. You're absolutely insane for that. If Josh Allen gets torn apart for the media, I will defend him fully. It was not his fault they lost this game. The only one you could blame is the coach. And you kind of got to consider getting him out of there. Because I think the only reason they've been held back this far, this long, has been the coaching. I think coaching has been a big problem for the Bills for the longest time. And it's starting to really bite them in the butt where you have one of the generational players. And you can't get past the Chiefs team because he called dumb plays. They ran the same play like 8 times on 4th down. And it got stopped. And obviously that last one was very controversial. I don't agree with it personally. I think that he got over the line. But it doesn't matter. You should not be running the same 4th down play every play. If they score that touchdown, they probably win that game because then that gives Josh Allen the ball back to put it back into 2 score. You already have a lead. That's how big that 12 minutes of the game, that 4th down, that's how big that was. It had a swing factor of the entire game. And what do you do, man? If you're Josh Allen, Matt Collins is your best receiver right now. He had 73 yards on a touchdown, 3 for 4. Shakir had a Shakir game with 7 for 6. But if you need a star. You need a wide receiver star that isn't a washed up Stephon Diggs. Because Stephon Diggs was not the answer. He was a very talented player. He is a very talented player. He was a locker room cancer. He was the reason they lost some of those games. You have James Cook. Your defense kind of failed, but it was also Mahomes, so take that with a grain of salt. But your offensive pieces, besides for Cook, failed you. Cook had 49 yards in receiving game and 85 rushing yards with 2 touchdowns. Josh Allen threw for 2 touchdowns. Matt Collins and Curtis Samuel had the touchdowns. Shakir didn't step up. Cooper didn't step up. Kincaid didn't step up. Keon Coleman has looked awful in these playoffs. It was embarrassing for the Bills. What they have to do is they have to fire some people. They got to make some changes. And I know it was a rebuilding year, but you still cannot keep losing to the Chiefs every single freaking week. It's rough when the mentality gets cooked. You get screwed mentally. So let's talk about the Chiefs now. Travis Kelce is. Oh wait, never mind. Hold on. Let's go back to the Bills for a second. I think the Bills should draft a superstar wide receiver. I think they should trade up. I got a few names: Terracotta McMillan, Isaiah Bond, Isaiah Golden, Travis Golden, something like that, and Matthew Golden and Trey Harris are all receivers they could get. Luther Burden's good. Ime Iboka is good, but I don't think they can get them. I think if you're going all in, you're going for a Terracotta McMillan. And if you're not going all in, you're going for a Trey Harris who you can get in the second round, or an Isaiah Bond, or a Matthew Golden. I think all four of those guys are very talented and could slip a little bit. They're saying Amuka Ibuka is going to the Chargers, and Luther Burden is going 21 to the Steelers. If Luther Burden hasn't been picked up by the 20th overall pick for the Broncos, you trade up. You make an offer. You get Luther Burden, because Luther Burden would be a piece that Josh Allen could use for a decade. Keon Coleman, Luther Burden, and Khalil Shakir would be a great combo with Kincaid and not Connect. What's the other? Kincaid and Dawson Knox would be a great wide receiver core. You wouldn't even need anybody else. Let's go over to the next one, though. Let's go over to the Chiefs. I don't like them winning. I think I need to appreciate the greatness of a three-peat. I know mentally I'm already accepting that they could three-peat. And I need to appreciate that greatness. Because if you three-peat in the NFL, you're the greatest NFL team to ever be formulated. No NFL team has ever three-peated. So mentally I'm accepting that. And that if I don't accept that and look at this game as, oh, I hate the Chiefs. Oh, they're so bad, but they're winning. They get lucky. Then I'm not appreciating the greatness. It's like the MJ 1960s, 92 through 96. If you didn't appreciate that 6 feet, you do now. But at that time, you might not have. You might have been the Jazz fans who didn't appreciate it, who hated MJ. You might have been, I don't even know, like LeBron and the Heatles. Unless you were a Dallas fan, you didn't really appreciate that. Steph and the Warriors, the 2016 team, 2017, 2015. All great teams. 3 championships as a team. If you didn't appreciate that greatness, you hated them. If you weren't a Warriors fan, you hated the Warriors during that times. And I feel like if you don't appreciate that greatness, it sucks. Then you look at it now and you're like, hey, that was really cool. That was some really cool times. They were really good. And I think I need to appreciate this because it's the NFL. You don't see this ever. This is the first time that there's been a three-peat chance, I think. I don't know. This is a really big game. We'll have to see. Let's talk about Travis Kelce. I think it's last year. I think it's his second to last game. If they win the championship, they three-peat. I think Travis Kelce retires. You're 30? He is 35. Wow, I did not know that. You're 35. You're dating a superstar. You kind of have to retire. You retire, you marry her, you propose and marry. And then you settle down, you have kids, you do the Jason Kelce route where you don't play until you can't. You don't go Shaq where you're in your 40s playing on some random team and killing your legacy. You're killing your future, your life. You retire after this game if you win. If you lose, then come back, have that fire, have that thing. But if you win, why play another year? You're part of the greatest dynasty. You retire winning a Super Bowl, which your brother couldn't do because he lost to you, and he retired the next year. I can't remember for sure, but he regretted that extra year. I'm pretty sure. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't retire. I'm curious who's rooting for Loki though, because do you root for your brother or do you root for your team? For the sake of podcasting, I'm assuming he's gonna root for his team because you can kind of start problems there and you can have fun with that. But if you don't, then you don't. I like Travis Kelce. I don't like Travis Kelce, but he's very good and I respect him. And it's like a LeBron scenario where I don't love him I like him as he's not a bad person, but I don't love him as a player. But I do respect his game and that he's that good. Second best tight end in NFL history. So we'll see. The biggest thing is Patrick Mahomes is playoff patty right now. 245 yards, 1 touchdown, 43 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. And he is just different when it comes down to playoffs. Now, yes, it was a lot of the defensive coordinator. I'm blanking on his name. I swear. Spagnola. It was a lot of Spags. He saved them a lot. But in all reality, like, Mahomes is still that good. He turns people who are not that great into great players. Xavier Worthy, 85 yards in this game, 6 receptions, 1 touchdown. Juju Smith-Schuster, 6 yards, 2 receptions. Marquise Brown, 3 receptions, 35 yards. Travis Kelce was 4th on the list, and he has been a big part about these successes. And that's why he is good. He turns these players who aren't bad, but turn these players who are all right at best into 85-yard receivers in a must-win game. That is the most annoying, but also the most impressive part about him. That 4th down that they were on, it's like, yeah, he's gonna get this probably because it's Patrick Mahomes. 4th and 9 or something. You have an extra 2 timeouts, and you're like, hey, maybe the Bills can win this. Maybe they can get the ball back and come back. And then you realize it's Patrick Mahomes on the other side of the ball. They get that conversion. And it's just the Chiefs are really good. So we'll see what happens. We got a Super Bowl though. We got the rematch of the start of the 3-peat. And I'm not gonna go over the game yet. We're gonna wait a little bit. We're gonna have hopefully some guests on. We're gonna see what happens up in these upcoming weeks. I gotta make some plans. I'm not sure what's the plan exactly. But let's talk about some upcoming storylines for these games. And I think the biggest one is going to be Jalen Hurts' revenge game. Jalen Hurts lost to them originally, but ended up making back the first quarterback in a long, long time. I can't remember who started the curse, but somebody started the curse, and it just now broke. Hurts is the first quarterback to lose their Super Bowl and then make it back for like 22 years or 24 or something like that. So if you're the Chiefs or if you're the Eagles, you're going to have so much on this game. But you're also going to have the Chiefs have a lot on this game. Obviously, it's the Super Bowl. Everyone's going 1,000%. But the storyline of the three-peat is going to be a huge part in this game. Three-peating is never heard of. And I just gave a bunch of talk about it. But it's true. The three-peat is unheard of. No one's ever done it. And this is the game that could happen. We'll have to see. Another storyline I'm thinking that'll happen is there'll probably be some. Oh, the best place to watch is going to be the trenches for this game. They both have some of the best defensive and offensive linemen in the NFL. So keep an eye on that. It won't be a big storyline because it's not a wide receiver, quarterback, or running back. But that's going to be an eye on. And let's go over the best storyline. It's going to be the 2 best NFL players currently playing. It's going to be Saquon versus Mahomes. Who will win? Who will be that big of an impact factor? And we'll see. I'm not saying that. I'm not teasing anything. You're not getting nothing out of me. Let's go over. I think the biggest legacy impact for this game will be Saquon. Winning this game would be a Saquon legacy like game. Losing this game, on the other hand, would not be. I think it would be a little bit of a rougher one, but we'll have to see. Let's move on to NBA. We're watching the Magic game right now. They're kicking butt, up 10 in the 4th quarter. They look good together. But we're not going to go over the game. We're going to go over who's on the rise, who's cooled down, and who's falling fast. This is the new segment I want to do because I want to talk about NBA without fully giving an NBA show until after Super Bowl. So I got 4 teams who are on the rise, 3 teams who cooled down, and 4 teams who are falling fast. And so to explain it, who's on the rise is obviously like the teams that are doing the best right now, who are looking good, who weren't really expected to be, and who are shooting up my rankings. Who's cooled down is the teams that maybe weren't that good, or maybe that were really good, and now have kind of calmed down. They're not as great anymore. Maybe they've gone a little 50-50. And then who's falling fast is going to be teams I think are shooting down my rankings, who are struggling more than they should, and who weren't really expected to do bad. So let's go over who's on the rise. The first team we're going to talk about is the Orlando Magic. I know I'm very biased, but I think the team on the rise the most right now is the Magic. Fully healthy Magic have looked amazing. Goga has been hurt. Franz has been hurt. Suggs has been hurt. Paulo's been hurt. They have no general adaptation. And then they played the Pistons last night, who are a very good team on their own. I did not include them in this list, but maybe another time. And they beat the Pistons coming back, and 25 points for Franz in the fourth quarter. They looked really good once they got rolling. And they're doing this again against the Miami Heat in Miami, 88-79, rolling the Heat after struggling early. That's kind of what they're doing right now. Paulo's really good. Franz is really good. Suggs is really good. Shots are starting to fall. They're looking like an Eastern Conference championship team. I don't know if they could win it. I don't know if they could win the Larry O'Brien, but I think they have a chance, and I think they're competitive. Let's go over to the next team. The Houston Rockets are rolling. They're the second best team in the NBA on the West. They are looking great. They are looking unbeatable, you could say. Beating some pretty solid teams lately. They are in a decently hard conference, and they're the second best in the they are in the hardest conference. And they're second place. They beat the Cavs twice, lost to the Pistons, beat the Trailblazers, lost to the Kings, rolled the Nuggets, Grizzlies, Hawks, Grizzlies, Wizards, Lakers. They're playing the Celtics right now, and it's 85-94. That makes my take look really bad. But it doesn't matter. I think they're one of the better teams in the NBA. I think they're more complete. I think they're one star away from being a championship contender. I don't think they're there yet. I think there's better teams in the West, but I think they're close. I think they're borderline. I think they're borderline championship contender. Let's move on to the next one. Pacers. Pacers are steamrolling lately. Pretty sure they haven't lost in a hot... No. They went like 9-1 or something like that in this most recent 10 games, which is insanity. They're 8-2 in the last 10. They lost one game early, which wasn't really their fault. It was Wembanyama in Paris. Not really fair. You kind of take a day to relax, and then they get right back to rolling. They're 5th in the East, and they're looking good. They're looking sharp. Keep an eye out on them. They're a threat for the Eastern Conference. The next team we're going to talk about is the Grizzlies. I mentioned them earlier to lose to the Cavs. But man, are they rolling 8-2 too. 6 wins in the last 6 games. Easy opponents, but they lost to the Rockets. But they beat the Timberwolves. They beat the Mavs. They beat the Suns. They beat some competitive teams. They're playing the Knicks right now, and they're losing. Wow, man, I am a curse. But they are looking good, healthier. Ja is looking great. Gigi's looking great. Jaren's looking great. They have the stars to compete. They're just not there yet. Give them a little bit to develop as a team. They're very homegrown, but they need a star. KD is my sneaky. KD to the Grizzlies would be insane. Continuing though, let's go over teams who cooled down. Teams that started off really hot, kind of cooled down. The Cavaliers. Okay, best team in the conference, I know. They're 5-5 in the last 10. That's not great, especially when you have 9 losses as a team in general. They're not a bad team. I'm not saying that. I'm not making that claim. I know they're a good team. But they've kind of cooled down since starting off the season so hot. Going 5-5, you lose to the Rockets, you lose to 76ers, Rockets, Thunder, Pacers. All good teams, but you lose to them. And I understand that it happens, but it's not great. It's okay though. They are still good. They are still top tier, but they have been struggling lately due to just being. You start off so hot, you kind of can't keep it up. Next, we're gonna go over is the Kings. The Kings have been amazing, but they have fallen off a little bit. Not off a cliff, off like a little ledge. A little ledge that personally I think the Kings are still a playoff team in the West. But I mean they started off really hot and then they lost 2 straight. You lost 2 straight. You're 7-3 in the last 10. So 7-1 before the last 2. It's a little bit of a rough bump. They're struggling against the Nets right now, 80-78. So they're not an amazing, perfect team, but they're a team with flaws that turned around a really bad early season. Now you hold on to your guys and you see what happens. You ride it out. The last one we'll touch on is the Hornets, and I know they're not that hot to begin with, but they kind of were for a minute, and now they're back to ground level. Winning one, but LaMelo just got hurt against the Lakers, which is not great. That kind of screws you. That cools them down a lot. That would make them go down a ranking. You know what? We're going to do it right now. We're going to de-rank them. They were on cooling down watch. Now they're on falling fast. They are tanking. LaMelo getting hurt just changed my entire mind on them. They did really good against the Jazz, Bulls, Mavs. They lost 2 to the Grizzlies and Timberwolves, or Trailblazers, and then they wouldn't beat the Pelicans. Now without Melo, they are going to spiral. They are going to fall hard and fast. And let me see if I can get their current game. Oh, it's already over. They lost 112 to 107, which is close. A closer game than I thought. AD had a game and a half. He had 23 rebounds, 42 points, 2 blocks, 2 assists. That is a great game for AD. Out of nowhere, the brow turns it up. But LaMelo getting hurt is the big storyline of this game. He had 7 points before he did. And right now it's a LaMelo show because Melo knows that his teammates aren't great around him. But you still... He's going to be good. I don't know where I'm going with this. They're falling fast. They're going to be obviously a bottom team. Especially depending on how long Melo's hurt for. They could bottom out. Next one we got for the Who's Falling Fast is the Mavs. Lost 11 of the last 16. You know who has been better? The only teams who have been worse: the Nets, the Jazz, and the Trailblazers. There might have been one more, but I can't remember for sure. That's sad that you're struggling that hard as a Mavericks team that were coming off a conference championship. It hurts to see, but it's how the cookie crumbles. Right now they're kicking Washington's butt, but they've been struggling lately. And now as I realize that I'm doing this, it's only going to age worse because of the next few teams I have coming up. But I don't care. I stand by my takes. I wrote all these in the morning, so the Mavs are struggling lately. They're beating the Wizards that are not that good. So hats off to them, I guess. But you start off that bad, you kind of struggle with Luka and Kyrie, and it's weird. It's weird to see. I don't expect it to continue, but I do expect some concern. Next team is the Heat, and I'm watching them, and they're not looking great. With this whole Jimmy Butler problem, he walked out of shoot-arounds today. Huge loss. It's only getting worse. It's getting ugly. He's going to get traded soon. We're going to have to see, though. we'll have to see how it unfolds. I think Jimmy Butler is a cancer right now to them, and they need to get rid of him soon. And he has every right to be a cancer. He wants to go, so he's getting his way out. And that's how he's going to do it, then that's how he's going to do it. You don't really have a choice on how he's going to do it. That's all I got for that. The other two teams I have are not of teams that are falling fast per se, but of teams that have been struggling. The Knicks and the Celtics. 6-4, both of them in the last 10. They're both winning tonight, which is kind of unfortunate for my takes, but they're not as great as people thought, and they were flawed. Celtics were theory to be the best team in the NBA and the guaranteed conference champions. Now they're not looking too shiny, with a chance to not even make the conference championship. With the Magic looking good, the Cavs looking good, the Knicks aren't looking as great as I thought. They look good, not great, and I think they could have some problems in the near future with, hey, we have to play these better teams, and they got weaknesses. We will see if they get exposed. The next team we're going to talk about is the Knicks, and they have been struggling in their own right. With Cat, though, they have improved a lot, but with Cat, they kind of shot themselves in the foot with the double edged sword, because now they don't have paint defense. Their paint defense looks all right at best, and it's been getting exposed lately, and they've lost 4 games because of it. They played a tougher schedule, but you can't afford to lose 4 games, especially when you're trying to be a top team in the East. That's all I got for NBA. Let's talk college basketball. I got a few teams that I think are overrated, a few teams that I think are underrated, and I think teams that are well rated. We have 3 each. The first team I think that are overrated are the University of Houston. I don't think they're as good as people think they are. Their defense is impeccable. I will give them that. I'm not going to discredit what they're doing. But they're also not a team of destiny, a team that is amazing. I know, hey, that's pretty controversial. It's not 100% agreed on by everyone, but they're 1-2 against AP teams. They won 12, but who have they played? They haven't played anybody. You don't make your schedule, but you got some tough games coming up. Win those games. They got like a few tougher games. You win those games, then you show me, hey, we're actually pretty good. That's really all I got for them. They're solid, but they've struggled against AP, so they haven't shown that, hey, we can beat these teams that can win it all. St. John's is another one. They're ranked 15th. 15th for beating nobody. There's not a single team on the AP poll that they have beat. They have coasted their way with an easy schedule. They've played 13 games at home, 4 away. So they haven't even been playing away games. They've been just playing home easy games and winning them. Congrats, you can beat the bad teams. Beat a good team. 0-1 against good teams. And it's showing. Last overrated team I got is Ole Miss. Now, SEC has been insanity in the college basketball world, but there has been some teams that maybe aren't as good as people think. And Ole Miss being 23 while on a 3-game losing streak and being 1-4 against AP poll teams is awful. It's embarrassing, and they shouldn't be ranked. They shouldn't be ranked when Vanderbilt, who's been rolling and has looked really good in their last few, is ranked below them. And we'll get to Vanderbilt because I think they're a little bit slipped on, but I don't think they're that slipped on. So next we'll go over is teams who are underrated. And we got Memphis is the first one. They're ranked 19. They've been competitive in nearly every game they've played in. And they've beat some top teams, top AP poll teams. I've been looking. That's my big target is like, hey, you can be an AP poll team. Congrats. You've proven, hey, we're actually a decent threat. Memphis is 3-1 against the AP poll. They're 16-4 on the season. You lose a few games here and there. Their last game was against Temple. They lost to Mississippi State, AP bowl team. They lost to Arkansas, and they lost to Auburn. So SEC teams. So they're not great. They're not competitive with SEC, but they're not terrible, and they shouldn't be ranked 19th, especially when there's teams above them who are less deserving, to say the least. Let's talk about Duke for a second, though. So we talked about some underrated teams that are like kind of outside looking in. Let's talk about Duke because I think Duke is the best team in the nation, and I think them not being one is criminal. Winning 14 straight, I think 14 or 13 straight. You should not be number one, especially when Auburn has shown weakness. Auburn hasn't looked as great as Duke has been. Duke has the best player in the college basketball world, and they've been competitive, and it sucks to see that they might be a championship team this year, but they're very good, and they're so underrated for being number 2. You should be number 1, and it should be unanimous. There should be no question about it. Same ranking, hotter team, though. The last team we'll talk about is the Michigan Wolverines, and I think they should be ranked. They just got knocked out, but they lost to another ranked team. So they've been winning good games. They've been beating ranked teams, but they lost a few games to ranked teams. So you win some, you lose some. Michigan's 3-2 against ranked teams, 6-2 in the conference. They're ranked third in their conference while not being ranked, and their teams around them are ranked. They beat Penn State last night. They lost to Purdue in butt-kicking fashion. They lost to Minnesota, Arkansas, and Oklahoma, and Wake Forest. All close losses. All competitive games. All games they shouldn't have lost, yes, besides for the Purdue one. But you shouldn't be that unranked because you lost to Purdue. That's not fair. They'll probably get ranked after this week because they just beat Penn State, and they looked pretty good. The last one we're going to be talking about are teams that are well rated. And coincidentally, they're all SEC. I think Florida is well rated. We're very competitive. And we're very good in these games lately that we look like an awesome team. We look very good, very competitive, and we're winning games. We had a few close ones. At South Carolina was a very close game. But we won. We came back 14 to win by 1. Insane. Alabama, toughest schedule remaining. So enjoy this 9 seed for now. They're probably going to have some losses. They might not bottom out, but they're going to be probably 10th, not at 10th, probably 10th at least. Probably 15th, 20th after this upcoming schedule with all ranked number 1. So one more is Vanderbilt. Upsetting Kentucky was huge. They're ranked 23, or 24. They should be 23, 22. But for 24, they're pretty well rated. I was gonna put some other teams on we'll talk about. But Vanderbilt looked fine. They look really good, and I think they're kind of slept on overall. They're fun. They're a spicy team. So let's toss in some honorable mentions that I wanted to talk about, but I didn't really know how to put them in. An overrated team is UConn. UConn does not look as half as good. This is the whole reason I made this list. If they didn't drop 6 in the AP polls today, they would have been number 1 most overrated team in this list. They have not looked good. They have struggled. They have looked terrible. And their magic's kind of gone. The coach is kind of losing his mind. Told a ref yesterday that he was the best player or best coach in college basketball and he should respect him more or something like that. I don't know. It's been messy at UConn. They're looking rough. And the last team we will talk about is an underrated team that won't make the conference. And that is SC, South Carolina. They're awful. Let me get that straight out of the way. They're not awful, sorry. They are not good on paper. They're 10-10, 0-7 in conference. But I don't think that tells the full story. Yes, they lost to North Florida. They lost to Indiana. They lost to Xavier, ranked team so far. I've named 2 of the 3 are ranked teams. They beat Clemson, ranked team. Lost to Mississippi State by 15. Lost to Bama by 20. Lost to Auburn by 3. Vanderbilt by 3. Oklahoma by 20. Florida by 1. And Mississippi State in overtime by 5. So they've been competitive in the last, what is that, seven losses. Yeah, 7 losses. They've been competitive again. They played only ranked teams and have been competitive in all but two or three, all but three. They look really good, and I mean they got still a tough schedule coming up ahead. Georgia, Texas State, Texas A&M, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Florida, LSU, Texas, Missouri, Arkansas, Georgia again, and Tennessee to close out the season. But I would keep an eye on them. They're sneaky good. I think it would be really tough to make the March Madness bracket. But if there was a team deserving of it, it would be them. And on that, I think it's time to wrap it up. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And just be excited for the Super Bowl. Go Magic. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.